process. I believe there's 12.
12.
I think we just got 2 new ones today. And I think they're going to, what we've been doing, what I love about the process this year, because we have more time, we actually get to work on the pieces in class.
Yeah.
And then we decide if we like a piece, if it actually, moves us, if it's something that we want to perform. So it's been really great, to have the luxury of doing that this year. So there's 2 more pieces that came in. I believe they're going to read them tomorrow night and see how they feel, and if they feel like they're fit. So, but I think it would be a total of 12 max that we're going to have, and then some facts. We have some actual facts that we read as well.
And did you write one, Michael?
Hi.
Did I what?
Hi, Elizabeth. Michael, did you write a piece for the show?
No, I'm working on mine. I don't know if it'll be ready. I've been working on mine, but I think maybe it will be for next year.
Okay.
I mean, I have been writing it a little bit, but yeah.
Okay. Elizabeth, welcome.
Elizabeth's here.
Hi, you guys.
Hey.
It's so good to have you. Thank you for calling in.
Thank you so much for having me.
Really quick, tell us a little bit about your inspiration, your experiences with the 9/11, and your inspiration to write the piece that you wrote that started all of this.
Oh, thanks so much. Well, I was inspired to write the piece that I wrote. It's called Happy Sweet 16. I'm with my little daughter, and she's in a bad mood, so just bear with me.
Okay.
I wrote it last year in July for the Samuel French Summer Shorts series in memory of my dad. It was 1 year since he'd passed away from several different types of cancer that he got from inhaling toxins from 9/11, because I grew up in the Ground Zero area, and my dad and my mom still lived there after the disaster. So it had been a year, and I saw a advertisement for these summer shorts, and I decided to write a 10-minute play. It just kind of came to me. And Michael was a part of the play. He was in it, and we did it at Samuel French. And then after we did the reading, Michael just had a brilliant idea that we should go ahead and make it a festival and do it on September 11th in memory of the victims and of the day. And we did it with 3 weeks preparation. I hear you. And it was an amazing, inspirational night.
Isn't that wonderful?
That is.
I mean, did you ever think, sweetie, when it happened, when 9/11 happened, and then when your father got sick, that you would ever want to write about it? I mean, was it one of those things that just took you a little bit by surprise?
Oh my God, yes. I've actually not written anything other than that. And I'm a writer. I mean, I have a master's degree in writing, and it's one of the only things. I mean, I've never been able to write about it. I've never been able to find words, even beside my dad being sick. I mean, I was there. I was 10 days away from giving birth to my daughter.
Wow.
My first daughter was born on September 21st, 2001.
Wow.
And it was all so traumatic that I just never could even I've been in therapy, and they've said, write about it and it will help. And I've just never found any words that could even describe what it was like or what it felt like. And so writing this play was so just strange, because I couldn't even believe that it came out of me. And then, I couldn't believe it. It's really, it's so amazing.
And look at what a wonderful thing it's turned into. I think it's interesting sometimes when we're artists that we think our talents are for one thing, and we don't realize until later that our talents are for something else, and for many things. And part of that is what I like to call your kind of higher human purpose, where you realize that your talents are for the world. I mean, are to help the world in different ways. And certainly this has been one of those things for you, Elizabeth, and for you, Michael, and for you, Ariana, and for you, Mike, as well. I mean, for all of you.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. I always think being an artist is, we're called to heal.
Absolutely.
In whatever way that is.
Amen.
Absolutely.
Yeah, to heal and, for audiences in whichever way, whether they laugh or they cry or whatever way they're able to feel what they feel, we are the catalyst. And so I've always just hoped as an artist I would be able to give that to an audience. And so with this, they're certainly, Michael, able to do that. And we're really hoping, Tuesday will be, it's a Tuesday, so that's something.
That's okay.
It was a Tuesday on that actual.
That's right.
That day.
Mm-hmm.
Tuesday. Yeah, so it's a Tuesday again. It's 17 years later, and it's a sad. I mean, some of the pieces obviously are sad, but a lot of them are very informative.
Yes.
A lot of people leave saying like, "Wow, I didn't even know that. I didn't even really know that happened on September 11th." And so we have some smiles and some enlightening moments, which are also nice. And we're really looking forward to it.
So beautiful. How far did you grow up from where the Twin Towers are, Elizabeth?
Oh, 3 blocks. 3 blocks.
Oh, wow. I mean,
really
that's crazy. I mean, did you ever think in a million years that they were something that would go away? I mean, it's a staple. If something becomes a staple, right? Yeah. And you don't think... Oh, I lost her. Hang on a second. Can you hear us? Elizabeth?
Hi, I'm sorry. I think I lost you.
No, that's no problem. I was just saying that when you grow up around something that is a staple of the lower part of Manhattan, like the Twin Towers, you can't imagine a New York without them. And I can't even imagine what it was like to grow up that close to them and see them constantly and just think, oh, for my entire life, this is going to be here.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm a 3rd generation Manhattanite, so my grandparents were born in Manhattan. I tell people I don't come from anywhere. I come from the streets of Manhattan. So
right, it's beautiful.
I mean, my parents are from Chelsea. My grandparents were from Midtown, and I'm from downtown. Like, I was brought home from the hospital to Tribeca, and so they were kind of, they were the trees in my backyard. I didn't have trees. We had the World Trade Center. And the concourse level was our mall. Like, that's where my Gap was, and that's where my Bath and Body Works was. And, I was there 3 or 4 times a week in those buildings.
Wow.
So that's just something that, that I know it certainly happened to our country. It happened to our world. But it really happened, like, in my home. Like, you know what I mean? Like, in my living room. It was my house that it happened to. So it was really, it was not anything that I really could put into words until I wrote this play. And that the play kind of starts to tell the story of what I experienced. And then I had no idea. I had a lot of survivor's guilt that, we were okay, me and my family, but I did not know that, 15 years later that my dad would die subsequently of the tragedy.
You were there when it happened?
Yeah.
Or you were living out here?
No, I was there. We were all there. I mean, I didn't move here until 2005, but I did move here because of it, because I couldn't live there. I was so depressed, and I was not able. Yeah,
I can imagine. I was telling Ariana and Michael that I went there in 2006 to do the Vagina Monologues for the first time, and we went down there, and I mean, I felt literally sick to my stomach, Elizabeth, from the depression of the heavy energy that place put off at the time. It was like it's like what I imagine it's like to tour Auschwitz. I mean, it just felt like a giant. Or what it's like to go to Gettysburg. It just felt like a giant pit of death. And you could feel everybody's energies and feelings that were traumatized, that were terrified. I mean, it was just, I literally, the whole rest of the day, I was like, I can't even believe I did that.
Absolutely. And I lived down there. So, it still was I still, had to live down there. I still had to get around down there and do my errands down there. And still, my world was still down there. And I think we all still tried to function like it was normal, or it was okay, or it was getting better.
Sure.
But I don't know if it ever did get better. I don't even know if it's better now downtown.
Well, that's what Ariana and I were talking about before everybody else came, that it's Ariana had a beautiful point that it's a different place now, that we both grew up as East Coast kids. I lived in Connecticut and then lived in Baltimore, and she's from DC, and we were talking about how it's just a different place now. It feels different. Ariana, do you agree that it's just it's like it's a little sad?
Yeah.
And it's a little it doesn't have the bite that it had, right, Elizabeth? I miss the like, hey, F you, get out of my way, New York. Where's that? It just doesn't have that anymore.
Yeah. Well, I do. I mean, I miss the filthy, like, 42nd Street with the porn shops and the, like, cheap shows. I mean, I miss that. It gave a character, you know? I
miss stepping over 400 condoms to see Annie. You had to walk over like hypodermics and a half-dead stripper just to go see Annie when you were 11. Yes, exactly. And I remember my mom looking around and saying...
That's exactly what I stepped over to go see E.T.
I remember my mom was looking around going, this is not the New York of my childhood. I'm like, which part? That's the condoms, hilarious. The hypodermics, the half-dead stripper? Yeah.
I just remember my mom dragging us through 42nd Street and saying, don't make eye contact. Yeah. Don't make eye contact. Look at me. Keep walking. Keep moving.
But there was something like gutsy to have walked through all of that than just to sit and watch Annie. Like, it was, you know, you feel like you survived the day when you went to New York. You were like, I survived New York.
And you had to fight, you know. You had to put up your dukes just to get through the day. But I don't even visit. I don't even want to visit. My mom and my dad moved out here in 2015.
Okay.
Finally, they left and they came out here. And my dad he passed away 6 months later. And so they're not in New York. And I don't even want to. I can't go back. It's not my city. I don't know it. I don't recognize it. I just can't. I don't know how to. I don't know how to move past that day.
I understand.
I don't know how.
I understand. Yeah. I know this is probably hard to talk about, but when did your dad first know that he was sick?
Oh, he found out he was sick in 2008. He found out in 2008 that he had prostate cancer, and it was at stage 4. And they told him that it was 9/11 related. A lot of men were finding out that they had prostate cancer and that it was 9/11 related. And then just a couple of days after he found out, they called him again and said, we need you to come back immediately. We think you have lymphoma. And he tested positive for non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. And the tumors that he had were the same tumors that the first responders had and the firemen had. And it's a cancer that they'd not seen before. They were liquid tumors. So they didn't respond to chemotherapy the way that cancers that had been seen before responded. They didn't really know how to treat them.
I'm so sorry, sweetheart.
So his cancers were stage 4. They gave him 2 years to live. They told him he had the cancers from anywhere from 2002 to 2004. That's when he started to develop the cancers, and he'd been living with them all the way until 2008 without knowing. So he was really sick. But he really fought. He really, really fought, and he lived until 2016. And in the meantime, he also got diagnosed with skin cancer, and it moved to his bones by the time that he died. So,
wow, I'm so
but I
sorry.
think he was just such a hero because he really fought so hard against cancers that were supposed to kill him so quickly, and he lived with them for what we know, 12 years.
Well, doesn't it makes sense with your lymph system, right? Because your lymph system's job is to protect you from all of the stuff that's trying to get at you. It's like the filter in an air conditioner. So when all of that toxic stuff you're breathing in, it's coming through your skin, it's in the water, it's in your food, and your lymph system is working overtime trying to protect you from all of that.
And the thing that really sucks is that my dad got sober when I was 15, and he became like a health nut, and he became a physical trainer, and he ate right, and he worked out, and he was a physical trainer for many people in the downtown area. So after the attack, he was training people and going into Battery Park City and doing deep breathing exercises.
Yeah.
and trying to, tell people that it was going to be okay. And like, let's just get, let's continue to work on ourselves and there will be a tomorrow. And he was a motivational speaker. And so he was really trying to look at the bright side. But as he's doing these deep breathing exercises and, he's inhaling these toxins, not knowing.
Yeah.
He really got, and he also, many of the people who stayed that day on September 11th, I left with my mother and my brothers. We went out to Jersey, but my dad, he stayed in the apartment and said, like, I'm going to stay. I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm going to stay. And some of my other friends stayed. All of those people who stayed that initial day and the days after, they are all dead. And I think,
you don't know what was in the air those days. Yes, that actual dust that was thick in the air.
Yes.
Yeah,
that white asbestos. They're really every single one of them are serious. They're dead.
You know what was one of the things that I think was so terrifying about watching the Twin Towers actually fall is to see, like, we live in a country full of metropolises. Most people in this country live in a city, and we drive around and we see, buildings and billboards and homes and restaurants and malls. We don't think about, like, if those all fell to the ground, how much nasty stuff is inside all of those buildings and how much of that's affecting us. I know that I survived I was in one of the areas really hard hit by the Northridge earthquake. And most of us in the valley were sick for like 2 years after the earthquake. And they said that it was because not just the buildings, but it was because when an earthquake happens and the plates shift around, it actually kicks up all this mold and spores that are normally buried in the ground, and they come up through the cracks in the ground. And we're not used to them. We haven't built up a resistance to them because we haven't had them around. So all of us I was congested, we were sick, people had asthma that had never had it before. So, in many ways we live in a world that's toxic. Part of it, the earth makes itself. A lot of it, man has made. And hopefully, watching the towers come down, hopefully I'll say again, hopefully, has made people think about what kind of chemicals and things they put into buildings. Because it wasn't just the actual structure, it was the paint on the walls and what's in the furniture and what's in the glass and what they line the windows with, and all of that stuff everybody had to take in. And I remember when I was there in end of March, beginning of April of 2006, they were still bulldozing that area. And that's a long time to still be getting rid of that stuff.
Yeah. I mean, they didn't rebuild. Freedom Tower didn't go up until I don't know. I mean, it was at least 10 years.
Yeah, because in 2006, I was telling Ariana, in 2006, all that you could see was they had dug out the foundation and they were clearing stuff away from the foundation level for whatever they were going to build. So,
I mean, I know they had a lot of arguments over which architectural structure they wanted to go with, but the pit itself was there for at least 10 years, and they were digging the path train, and they were still for 10 years they were still, like you said, building and bulldozing and doing things down there. And my dad was there. Everybody was there still. And I mean, I don't know. I really honestly don't know how they would efficiently clean up that type of disaster. Because, like you said, everything in there that was destroyed was toxic.
Yeah, I don't think there's. I think they probably did the best they could do, but you can't control what's in the air. I mean, you can't do anything about it. Plus, all the jet fuel and all the stuff that they blew them up with. I mean, all of that. I mean, that's.
We don't really know what was in the plane. We don't know what was on the plane. I mean, we would never really know what they brought on the planes. And so, to tell people, well, it's not safe. It's up to you whether or not you want to stay. Well, a lot of us didn't have money to leave, but if we did, I would just sort of caught the panic in New York. Everybody would have tried to leave. Where would we have gone? I mean, it's so you're right. In building in the future, I hope that they do take into consideration what they build with and whether or not that's safe. if anything were to happen.
Yeah, just to
Even here
think about it in the
California,
future.
like you said.
Just think a little bit about this could happen and everybody could have to breathe this in. But I think we in this country, and not to get too political, but here I go a bit. We in this country have always turned our backs on environmental things. You know, look at how long it took us to do something about the Flint water crisis. And look how long it took us when I was a kid, when it was all about the lead in the paint and kids were like eating the paint and dying. I don't want to eat the paint off a windowsill, but some kids eat strange objects for no apparent reason. It's not until we absolutely have to do something about it do we stop and say, oh yeah, maybe that's not great. And slowly but surely, up until maybe the last couple of years, as Mike was pointing out, with the EPA, we've cleaned the world up. I mean, I remember when Los Angeles had a big pink ring around it of smog, and it's so nice to see that gone every day. So I think slowly but surely people get it, but sometimes it takes a 9/11 for people to get it, and even then we're in complete denial that anything has to do with 9/11, right? I mean, I don't know what your dad went through, but people don't want to believe these people.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I have my child here.
I thought that was Michael.
And I think that you know, there's toxins in our environment in so many different ways, and in so many, I mean, in our foods, in our products that we use, in our buildings. I just hope we talked about this. Arena and I have talked about this, and Arena and Michael and I have talked about this. I think with our event, what we're trying to say, not subtly but not so subtly, is, you know, I have found that here in Los Angeles, the day gets kind of lost. Like I've been here on September 11th when I've found that it's not been acknowledged at all.
No, even the news barely mentions it anymore.
Yeah, I mean, I'm always sad because clearly I was there and I lost my dad. But, you know, I've been here on years where people are like, what's wrong? And I'm like, it's September 11th. And they're like, oh, yeah, that was so sad. And I'm like, still so sad. So we're just kind of saying, like, you guys, let's not forget, because it really could happen again. Not to be crazy and not to be morbid, but let's just always remember, because it could happen again. And like you're saying, in other ways, we have to be vigilant about our environmental issues, about, you know, about our safety issues. We just have to stay on top of it and not become, you know, smug. Everything's okay. We're safe. Everything's great. We're American. We've got all we need. We you know, because we have to remember how we felt that evening and the day after. When we were like, what the heck? What happened? You know, what hit us?
Well,
you just need to remember
Elizabeth,
how that felt.
And Elizabeth, I love that, you know, we do want to also make 9/11 a national holiday, so we are working towards that.
Yes.
And figuring out what the steps are to, you know, we are with our group or our organization, our group, our vision is to have 9/11 be a national holiday that people do take off to remember.
Yeah.
You know, and to honor the people who have left. Because I remember, for me as a child, on Memorial Day, my grandpa would wake me up at 5 a.m, and he would take me. We would walk to 3 different cemeteries in our hometown and bring flowers to everyone that passed away. And that's something we should be doing for 9/11 as well. We should have the day off. Nobody should be working. They should be just silence and honoring the people who are no longer with us anymore and what happened on that day. So that is one of our agendas as well, as for the show, with the show, and also to make it into a documentary. We would love to see this happen all over the country, in sync with us as well. Have it happen in New York, San Francisco, Boston.
It's beautiful.
Philadelphia, and Washington, D.C. So that's one of our ultimate goals as well.
I'm kind of shocked that Pearl Harbor Day was never a holiday. I mean, I'm kind of shocked we never turned Pearl Harbor Day into a holiday. Because that's the only 2 times, right, we've ever been attacked on our soil when it hasn't been by us, like the Civil War. And I just think we feel like, that just all goes under Memorial Day, and that's a lot to go under one day.
We it's like, that day, it's weird because everybody goes to work and everybody's just it's just it would be great. It's Patriots Day. It's been named Patriots Day.
Yeah.
9/11, but
it's not
the kids, the young people, they should know. Like, today's 9/11 and today's the day. This is what happened. And the firemen, there's so many heroes that went down that
exactly.
day. So many heroes trying, that we're trying to save lives. I mean, when it came down to it, they ran in and they didn't come back out. And we should really be remembering these people and remembering what happened at the Pentagon and remembering what happened with the other plane that got taken down. We should really just know that this happened here in America. It really happened, and we were susceptible to it, and we just should stay vigilant and know that we really are afforded some amazing freedoms here, and we should be grateful that we get to live this. I'm ultimately, having experienced it and gotten through it, I feel for a long time I felt like, why did this happen? And even after my dad died, I thought, why did I have to be there? And now why did my dad have to die? But I do feel like, well, I get to live to tell about it. I get to be here to talk about it, and
we get to be the historians.
I would say that we get to talk about it, and we have to make it. We have to make something of it. Because we talked about this too, Michael. We talked about how one day, how we see on TV, like the last living person from the Titanic died today.
Right.
One day there'll be the last living person that was here for 9/11.
Yeah.
And so, we're here and we know what happened. And so it's kind of like, oh, well, yeah, we all know what happened. But one day we won't be here. So we really have to get it down. Like what happened? How did you see it? That's why we take stories from everywhere. And that's why we accept submissions, because we want to hear everybody's perspective.
Absolutely.
What happened for you? Like how did it feel for you? What did you how did you get the information, and how did it feel? What did it bring up for you? And we've heard so many moving, beautiful stories. And we just kind of want to keep doing that, keep hearing people's ideas and sharing what that day meant.
Well, and also
until we can't.
I'm sorry. Yeah. Also, more acknowledgement of those that got sick because of it.
Yes.
So that we stop denying things like, I dated a guy that was in the Gulf War, and he had horrible physiological problems from a bunch of shots they gave everybody before the war. And nobody would acknowledge it. The whole idea that anybody was sick from the Gulf War, there were so many guys that came back and girls that were sick, and nobody would acknowledge that was why. Just like nobody wants to acknowledge 9/11 sicknesses, because everybody starts thinking, well, wait a minute, who's going to sue me? And that's all anybody thinks about. Nobody thinks about the fact that people are sick. And I can't believe it's an hour and 24 minutes in, and this is the first woo-woo thing I've said the whole show. But I also wonder with your dad, Elizabeth, because of all the work that he did with survivors, it seems like he was a very empathic person. And sometimes when you're empathic, you take on more of what's around you, and you let a lot of stuff in that other people don't. And I wonder if that contributed to him getting sick. The fact that he was not only physically around it that whole time, but he put himself so emotionally and spiritually in it that he was surrounded by it all the time.
Yeah, I mean, it was so funny. I posted something on my Facebook last night about being compassionate as opposed to empathetic, because you can be compassionate, but if you're empathetic, you actually take it into your body. Right. Yeah. But if you're compassionate, you can just kind of feel for the person. But if you're empathetic, you take on and feel and the emotion in your body, which is what you're saying.
Yes.
Yeah, he really was.
But he sounds like he was an empath. That's why and when you're an empath, you don't have a choice. Yeah.
Absolutely, and that's what's happening. We're donating our proceeds this year to the Feal Good Foundation. Feal, F-E-A-L. John Feal was a first responder, and he's in New York, and he started a foundation where he specifically is fighting for the healthcare rights for those first responders and volunteers who got sick from 9/11 related. From breathing in the toxins and now have 9/11 related cancers and sicknesses. he has a heroes wall in Consett, New York. And this year, on September 16th, my dad's name is going to be put on the wall.
It's so beautiful.
For his volunteer work. And so he was just on with Savannah Guthrie today. Yeah. John Feal was on with Jon Stewart and Savannah Guthrie talking about, still fighting for the Healthcare Act because it expires in 2020.
Yeah.
So any help that these people who are getting sick are receiving is going to end in 2020.
That's ridiculous.
So
why would it end?
I know.
I mean, if you've got lifetime illnesses from something, I mean, I can't even imagine the amount of people that probably have emphysema and COPD, and I mean, from breathing and all that stuff.
Post-traumatic stress.
Oh God, yes.
Yeah.
My brother is 39 years old. He was a first responder. He was down there for 3 to 4 months, and he's pretty much he doesn't come out of the house. He was loading body bags. He was 22.
Yeah.
I mean, the things he saw, he doesn't talk about. It's war.
Yes.
It's like it's so there's, and he does receive some psychiatric help from the World Trade Center Registry, but there's so many people that I really think that the post-traumatic stress should be helped as well, but they don't consider that. Because so many people have it, but the health problems are absolutely endless, and the Healthcare Act should be endless, but it's ending in 2020. So John Feal is fighting to keep that, going.
Good.
And so our proceeds from our event this year are going to go to his foundation because he's helping. When these people pass, they leave families.
Yeah.
They leave wives and children and families that right now they're very, very sick. So. We really appreciate him, and we appreciate the foundation who, they're going to acknowledge my dad this year, which I appreciate, because we have at Ground Zero, they have the wells with the people who died on 9/11, but there's been so many who've died since because of the illnesses. Yeah. And so we are grateful that there's a wall that remembers them as well.
Well, and I think we talk a lot about the first responders, and certainly every one of them was a hero. But what about the other folks who, the people that were down there cleaning that up for 10 years and the folks like your dad who was working with the people who were so traumatized, and, it's taken a toll on all of those people as well. I mean, you have to know that those folks that went in and first started bulldozing all that stuff, that there was stuff in there that they saw that people and dogs didn't find. There had to be bodies buried in all that stuff. I mean, how traumatizing for them. And they were breathing all of that in too for years working down there. I mean, there were a lot of people involved in the initial response, the follow-up response, the clearing out of that space, the rebuilding of the new space, and all of those people down in that energy every day, and then the people that lived in that immediate neighborhood. I mean, that's...
Yeah, my John Feal lost his foot. His foot needed to be amputated because a piece of steel fell on it while he was 10 days into the cleanup. And then my other friend, her father passed away about 6 months before my dad. He was a policeman, and when he died, he had 260 toxins identified in his body.
Wow!
And one of them being human remains.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's what was identified. Because he was breathing them
breathing in people. Mm-hmm.
So he was breathing in people. Mm-hmm. That's so upsetting. Wow. Mm-hmm. And he was hooked up to oxygen machines, and he, by the time he died, it was so horrible. And he was down there. He was down there for months and months after it, helping, and nobody knew. Everybody thought, well, I want to go down and I want to help.
Right.
And nobody thought, like, well, if I dig, I'm going to get sick. Nobody thought that. People just were trying to help and find people that were alive.
Absolutely. Well, and then there are toxins that aren't biological, right? And your dad was really opening himself up to all of everybody's emotional and spiritual toxins. That people had taken things in energetically and taken things in emotionally, and they were in a very bad place, and he was trying to hold them up emotionally and spiritually, and give them hope and make them pep them up and realize there's a reason to live and there's a reason to go on, and all of that, because I think that your spiritual, your emotional, and your physiological immune systems are all very closely tied together. So when one gets worn down, it wears the other ones down, and it makes sense that all of that took its toll on his physiological system in spite of all of the chemicals and the toxins and the biological things he was breathing in as well.
Yeah. And ultimately, that's why I moved. That's why I left.
I agree. I understand.
Emotionally, I couldn't. I just was drowning in toxins.
Yeah.
Really, like emotionally, I just couldn't handle the overload of how sad and toxic it was for me. So I needed to get out into a place that was not related to that. And I also want to advocate for people who, some people say to me, "Oh, you were there on 9/11. Oh, did you volunteer? Or, is that, or, and I say, "No, I didn't. I just lived, I lived there. I did. I had to, there were many people who just lived there and had to go back to work on the next day, It doesn't mean that you were not good people, but the people who lived there, people who went to school there, we have to feel for them too, because they were just there. Hi, guys.
Yeah. And anybody who wanted to leave to save themselves and their family had a right to do that. I mean, you're allowed.
Yes. Or those who couldn't leave and were there and just lived there or went to school there or went to work there and had to continue to go back, for the next 10 years.
Yes.
They're sick now because they were simply existing where they always existed. It's it's just really we have to acknowledge it. I tell some people and they're like, "What? People are sick in New York?" And I'm like, "Yes, thousands."
Yeah. My goodness.
This needs to be known.
Yeah,
they're really, really sick. And nobody knows. So I'm so glad that we're talking about it.
Yeah,
I'm
me
just
too.
So grateful that you're giving us the opportunity as well to speak about it. And I hope you'll join us on Tuesday.
Absolutely. I would love that. And absolutely.
Yes.
It's so important that we talk about things that don't get talked about. And this is one of them. When there has been a disaster to the magnitude that 9/11 was, I understand it becomes very expensive for everyone, including the government. However, all of us pay taxes for this specific reason. And when, we all pay in so that when somebody needs it, they receive benefits. And everybody should be getting benefits.
Yes.
All of those companies had insurance. And all the decedents of people who passed in the 9/11 should be taken care of. I remember because I was talking before you got here, Elizabeth, about how I went on the air that day. I was working on the Howard Stern station, and of course Howard could not go on the air because of where he was. And so they threw us all up on the air, and I did pretty much 30 days straight on the air with my co-host at the time, and all we did for a month was talk about 9/11. And I remember one of the big things at one point was that they were deciding whose decedents could actually get benefits. So if you were legally married, you could get benefits, but if you were, at that time, gay marriage was not legal, or if you were in a domestic partnership and you weren't legally married, then your spouse or your partner got nothing. And we did a whole show about how unfair that was, because I think whoever your decedent is, if it's a child, if it's your partner, if it's your uncle, I mean, whoever you take care of, the insurance should take care of those people, because, not everybody just supports a spouse.
Yeah.
Some people support...
and we have a piece about that.
Yeah.
Right, guys?
Yeah.
We have a piece about domestic partnership on 9/11 and not being able to actually visit the site.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really beautiful. Really beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is really beautiful.
That kind of makes me furious.
Yes.
How we decide...
Okay,
I'm sorry?
I think I'm getting a text. Michael Jose is saying he's trying to call in.
Oh, is he supposed to call in?
You know what? I can hang up if he needs to get on.
No, I can get you all on. I just didn't know that. I didn't know anything about Michael Jose. Oh, Mike Pinkle didn't either, so we're all confused. So I don't feel bad that I didn't know. He's welcome to call in.
Is Jose trying to call in?
But Jose, he's part of he's going to be reading a piece. So I don't know if he's tried. I can tell him to try to call back.
He can if he wants.
Yeah.
His name is Jose?
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't know that. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think that there's so Elizabeth, while we're talking about this, why don't you explain what some of the pieces are about and give us an idea of what the show's going to be like?
I'm here. I'm sorry. Michael, did you want to speak on that?
Sure. Yeah. Yep. So we have one of the pieces, as she said, is it's called Marcus, and it's about a gay man who lost his partner in 9/11, and he's trying to go down for the honoring when they had a ceremony to honor people who passed in 9/11, and he's trying to get into it, and he's not allowed to because the family won't allow him to. It's a really powerful piece, and I've cried every time I've heard it during rehearsal. We also have, of course, we have Elizabeth's piece, the Happy Sweet 16, which I was honored to read last year, and this year I get to read it again.
Oh, that's
so
wonderful.
I'm very excited about that. I love the piece so much, and it really means a lot to me. Every time I hear it, it just reminds me that this is what Elizabeth went through, and it just breaks my heart, and then she puts it back together again. Then we have a piece of
Elizabeth?
Go ahead, Michael.
Go ahead, you go.
I was just thinking about that piece. Is it called "And Her Unborn Child"?
I think it's called Her Unborn Child.
Yeah.
Yes.
Her Unborn Child. That's an amazing, amazing, riveting piece that really brought a lot to light.
Yeah, the woman,
Ariana?
she's, yeah.
What is that piece about?
Go ahead.
What is the unborn child piece about, Elizabeth?
Oh, it's about a woman who. Oh, I don't want to give too much away because it's a short piece, a monologue, and I don't want to give too much away. But it's definitely very eye-opening and very moving. We were all crying. Ariana wrote a piece. Ariana, do you want to talk a little bit about your piece?
Yeah, the piece
Are you still there?
that I was. Hello, can you hear me?
We're all here.
Yeah. The piece that I wrote is focused on the experience of those of us who lived in the area of the Pentagon. And as I mentioned earlier, I was in high school, so it's just a point of view and what it was like for us down there, because we obviously saw the news, and being so close to New York City, it affected us. And a lot of students I went to school with and people I grew up with, you either have family members or you personally, you know someone who worked at the Pentagon and worked for the military and the government in D.C. So it was just something that I felt like I had to write about and wanted to share as well.
That's beautiful. And are you reading your own piece?
To have a perspective from the Pentagon.
So.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is Ariana reading her own piece?
Yeah.
We're hoping she will.
Okay.
Yes.
How many of
We have a piece from Mel. We have a piece from Mel England. He says to say hi to you, Sheena.
Hi, Mel. Love you.
Hi, Mel. His piece is called Brunch, and it's kind of about conspiracy theory and what that feels like when you've actually been through it and you were there, you experienced it, and someone brings up maybe it not happening or CGI.
Oh my God.
You know, yeah.
Or Mothman
So
flying around the Twin Towers. That's my favorite, that Mothman actually, because the Mothman legend is that Mothman predicts disasters, and there are people that swear they saw Mothman flying around the Twin Towers right before it happened.
Oh my. Yeah, people have said, it didn't, no, that didn't happen. I'm like, wow, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I was there, but okay.
Yeah.
So that's a really interesting piece.
What's with the thing now that we have to deny that everything happened? So the Holocaust isn't real, the dinosaurs aren't real, the Apollo moon landing never happened, 9/11 never happened.
We're not even real. We're Sims, right?
No, we're just an illusion.
I mean, what exactly did happen if none of those things ever happened? I mean, I'm very confused about. Is it just that we don't want to think something that awful could have happened, so we convince ourselves it didn't? That's...
Maybe.
Well, it's a dangerous concept because people really do like to say, wow, it kind of felt like a movie, seeing it on TV. Were you really there? It was kind of like a movie. No, it really wasn't like a movie. Oh my God,
it was nothing like a movie. Newscasters were crying at 9:00 in the morning. That is not a movie. It was nothing like a movie.
Everyone was shocked Couldn't believe it.
I was telling everybody when I was on the air that month, that the first month that it happened, Elizabeth, I was telling Michael and Mike and Ariana that sometimes people would just call up and cry. I mean, they just needed somebody. They would call up and say, "Can you just please tell me it's going to be okay?" And you know, when we were the Howard Stern station, we were used to talking about like boxers versus briefs and car sex. And suddenly we had to start talking about, we were basically emotionally holding people that just wanted to cry at 1:00 in the morning and just didn't know what to do, because they were, even people that lived here that didn't even know anybody there, were so traumatized at the idea that this horrible thing could happen to this big, tough, impenetrable country. It must be like how people felt when the Titanic sank. Like, because everyone said it couldn't sink. So then what happens? It sank? Well, that's not happening. I'm surprised people don't say that's fake. There was never any Titanic. It never sank. Someone just threw some pieces of wood up on the shore and they pretended. But I think that we were shocked because we didn't think anybody could ever penetrate our soil. And you know, I think even with Pearl Harbor, people went, well, that was all the way out in Hawaii, so we can't protect that. But I just think nobody believed that it could happen, that it couldn't happen here, that theory. And then it did. And I think people don't know what to think now.
And that's why I think, that's what we're trying to say. Like, don't get not to be negative, but just to be, as a New Yorker, I like to be a realist.
Sure.
And I really want to say, like, don't get too comfortable. Like, don't start thinking again like it could never happen. It could. It happened once and it'll never happen again. That's not true. Like, we just need to just stay aware. Just at least be aware on that day, on September 11th. Just at least be aware. Please, just be aware that it actually did happen, right? Because we do have people who want to say it didn't happen. So we have about, what do we have, Michael? About 2 hours, or about an hour and a half, or out 2 hours worth of pieces.
Yes. Yeah, I would say. Yeah, almost 2 hours. Then with intermission, there's an intermission in between there. But
we have a break at 9/11.
12 pieces.
Oh, you take a break at 9/11?
We break before 9/11.
Oh, that's when you take like your intermission break.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. Yeah. That's so beautiful, all of you. I mean, what a wonderful thing to do. What a beautiful way to pay tribute to your dad, Elizabeth. I'm sure he is so happy.
Yes. I think so. I really do. I think
absolutely.
It really gives me some. It gives me. Ariana and I met in grief group, and at the end of grief group, they were, asking us, how will you be able to move forward, and will there be a way that you can remember your loved one? And this was so perfect. This was something that had come into my life that I was so happy about and proud of, and it just gives me something to look forward to every year, to just keep his name alive and keep his memory alive, and be able to remember all of those people. It's something positive. I don't have to always see it as such a negative, sad thing. I can know that we can keep their memory alive.
You're carrying on his work of helping people who have been traumatized through this. I mean, there is no better way to honor somebody's beautiful work than to keep it going, because as long as his work continues, he's not gone.
I mean, some people came up to me after last year's event, and they said, "Thank you so much for doing this. I'm a New Yorker, and I've been in LA for this many years, and I just hole up in my apartment on September 11th and get drunk because I don't know where to go with my feelings, or I don't know who to talk to, and I can't. I'm so excited that I know next year I'll have a place to come."
Yeah, isn't that nice?
And be with people.
Yes. That's beautiful.
Because people feel weird about being sad about it, or being whatever they want to be about it. Just have their feelings. Yeah. So now we have an event.
That's so beautiful. It's so wonderful. I'm so proud of you all for doing this, and especially Elizabeth, so proud of you for carrying on your dad's legacy. I think that that's so much what he would want, because I think it was so important to him that people got the healing that they needed, and
absolutely. Thank you guys so much, Michael and Ariana.
So, how can people get tickets to come to the show?
They can go.
Go ahead, Michael.
Our Facebook page is called 9-2, like TO, 11-minute plays and stories. So they can go there, and there's an Eventbrite link on there that they can purchase tickets on there. And they're $19.11 in honor of 9/11.
And you can search online, like if you, for some reason, don't go to Facebook, if you go to Eventbrite and put in 9 to 11 minute, it should come up as the first link. So you can also go through that way and buy tickets, and your ticket is the donation for the Feal Good Foundation.
Or you could just come to the LOFT Ensemble on Ventura Blvd.
Beautiful place.
The LOFT Ensemble Theater. It's 6 o'clock to 7 o'clock, the cocktail hour, and then 7 to 10 is the actual event where we'll be reading the pieces and having candlelight visual and just kind of hanging out and being there with one another. And you can purchase your seat at the door. It's a suggested donation because, again, we're donating our proceeds to the Feal Good Foundation, so we're hoping to be able to send something over there that's thoughtful and nice for the event. So that's the other way.
Mike?
If you want to show up.
And if you want to give a larger donation,
I love you,
to take it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Healthy donation, a fruitful donation.
Fruitful.
The biggest donation that you want to put together. Thank you all for being here. Elizabeth, where can people find you online?
Oh, I'm online as Elizabeth Regan. Pretty much everywhere. That's my handle, Elizabeth Regan.
Ariana, where can people find you?
You can find me at the Ariana Hollaway on Instagram and Ariana Hollaway on Facebook.
Beautiful. Michael? Hennessy?
I am miraclemike.com, and then if they on Instagram and on Facebook and everywhere else, it's Miracle Mike.
Beautiful. Mike Pingle?
1155 No, I'm kidding. I'm sorry. I thought this was a dating service. Sorry. No, Mike Pingle. MikePingle.com everywhere, or RainbowPR.com.
Fantastic. And if you missed those links, SheenaMetalExperience.com, LATalkRadio.com. On social media, I'm just at Sheena Metal everywhere. I'm also the founder of a movement of peace, love, kindness, and unity. We're at IamRaisingTheVibration.com and at our nonprofit hub, which is RaisingTheVibration.org. It's the Sheena Metal Experience on LA Talk Radio. Thank you all for being here and talking about this really, really important cause and wonderfully important show and fantastic creative entity that's been put together to honor Elizabeth's dad and to honor those that were victims before and after and since the horrible 9/11 attack of September 11th, 2001. It's the Sheena Metal Experience on LA Talk Radio, and you know what happens here, my friends. Every Monday through Friday, 5 to 7 p.m. Pacific Time, we rip the veil off the human sideshow and expose those big old Homo sapiens at their most bizarre sometimes and at their most beautiful every single day. And you know it's my show, and that's true, my friends. It's my show, but what it really is always and forever, it's your experience. Thanks for listening. Have a great night, and I'll see y'all tomorrow right here on LA Talk Radio.
Irreverent, entertaining, cool. You're listening to LA Talk